A lot of layers with the Giants right now. Paul Schwartz joins us here on Big Board Sports, good friend of our program, and Albany guy, Albany grad, and all of that have been on our show many, many times. Covers the G-men, the OTAs are going on, and Paul drops by for a few minutes here from the New York Post. Good morning, Paul Schwartz.
Guys, hope all is well. I'm a little beaten up still from watching that Albany lacrosse game against Maryland. I had high hopes. They had a great season, but that was a rough one to watch.
It was, and Scotty Marr has said to me time and time again here since that game ended, we just picked the worst time to play our worst game of the year. That's pretty much how he sums it up.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I mean, you watch those games. I watched the game, earlier against North Carolina, and you watch, and I think Albany, when they went out and played today, they could give Maryland a good game or beat them. But, when you think of it, a team from Albany and a team from Maryland, it's really hard, to win those games. You know what I mean? These big schools with these established programs. But, no, they're a great lacrosse program. He's a great coach. So, it'd be nice to get them in the Final Four one year.
I think everyone was surprised at the final score because they almost beat, back in March, they lost to Maryland by a goal. So you're thinking, this is going to be a great game, and then it turned out to be, whatever it was, 18-9 or a lopsided score. So the final, not that Maryland won, it was the fact they scored all those goals in the lopsided way in which they won that game.
Next year could be the year. Could be the year.
I heard they got almost everybody back and some great recruits. Huh?
Yeah, and I mean he'll make the all-name team for sure. Tohoka Nanakoke as a freshman.
Yeah.
Chris has got that name down. I love it.
It's good. No, it's quite a powerhouse he's got there.
Yep, the lacrosse community out in full force for UA this past season. All right, right before he came on, I was talking about Victor Cruz and just very disappointed, Paul, regarding the radio interview and how he basically was saying the Giants sabotaged him last year, didn't throw him the ball enough. It didn't have a game plan. He's kind of ripping into his former team, and the comments really bothered me. How about you?
Sure. What's that famous saying? Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, right? And in a lot of ways, these players, when their team turns their back on them, they're scorned. And he knew he was going to sign with the Bears, and so he finally let loose. Then he retracted and he said, "No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that." All that kind of stuff, which he did say it. I remember last year, it was the Steeler game. He wasn't targeted, and he was seething after the game. And I want some answers. I want this. I want that. We all see it. The players who've been great players who drop and aren't great players anymore, and they're trying to hold on to that, and it usually doesn't end well. And this didn't end well, and. Cruz's playing time went way down last year. He played, virtually every play the first half of the season. Was on the field about half the time the second half of the season. His production went down. But, to think that the Giants didn't want to, throw the ball to him, because they knew at the end of the year they're going to cut him and it would look good, that's ridiculous. This was a team that was 11-5 and had a great defense and really struggled to find points. And will Victor Cruz play this year for the Bears? I assume he will. I think he's healthy. Will he be a big impact player? I doubt it. Will he have more than one touchdown like he had against the Giants? Probably. He'll probably be a serviceable player if they line him up in the slot. But, it's disappointing. I don't think it will. I think if he keeps quiet now and when he gets to Chicago, he only praises the Giants, then I think, this will kind of, go in one ear, go out the other, and his reputation with the Giants fans will probably be fine.
Yeah, surprised me. That's all. The comments surprised me coming from Victor Cruz. I like Victor. I think he's a little bit better than that, and to bash his former team in that fashion kind of caught me off guard. The other big story, and I don't know how big it is because they do call this voluntary. The Odell Beckham Jr. not at OTAs. Is that a big deal in your opinion, Paul?
You know what? Odell, we've talked about Odell many times, together. And when you take each individual thing that Odell does, none of them are big deals. You know what I mean? Him trash talking with Josh Norman. Of course, that, he was suspended a game for that, so that became a big deal. Him punching the kicking net. All these little things he does, if you take them at face value, you say, well, it's not a big deal. But you add them all up, and it becomes the Odell file, right? And it's a big deal because he's a marquee player. Just look at what happened this week with Odell. It comes out that he signs a 5-year contract for nearly $30 million for Nike. So Nike is his primary employer, right? He is making much more money from Nike than he is from the Giants. Now, he's a dedicated football player. He is he's in pristine physical shape. He's training in California hard, and probably harder than he would be with the Giants here. But he's a marquee player. 95% of the players are here at OTAs. They're voluntary, which is, let's face it, we're not going to say what it is. It's a word that starts with B and ends with S. You know what I mean? The fact that they're voluntary, they're not voluntary. All that means is they cannot fine you for not being there, and they cannot jump ugly by saying things. Ben McAdoo said what every coach says when a guy is not at OTAs. We like all our players here, and we coach the players that we have. He should be there. He doesn't have to be there for every single one of them. I mean, a lot of players over the years I've covered, you show up on a Tuesday, where's so-and-so? He's not here today. Okay, it's not a big deal. If there are 10 of them and you make 6 or 7 of them, that's fine. If you want to take off for an early weekend, that's fine. But, Odell missing the first 3 and, not committing to being any of them, the next thing that's mandatory is their mini camp in the middle of June. They'll be there for that, I'm sure. It's not a good look. And you know what? These are helpful. Running on the field with Brandon Marshall and with Sterling Shepard and with Eli and some of the other backup quarterbacks it's beneficial. It's not life-changing, but it's beneficial. Odell should be there. He's not.
Hey, Paul, Chris Honorato here with Roger as well. If Beckham goes out and puts up the numbers again this year, I know they've already picked up his 5th-year option. They've got the franchise tag at their disposal as well. But do you think a long-term extension discussion will be had if Beckham has, again, just another, typical year for him? Or are the Giants going to play this thing out as long as they can without the guaranteed dollars?
Well, it's a good question, Chris. Let's not shortchange what, you just said, quote unquote, typical Odell year, right? Now, typical your typical means, typical. A typical Odell year is a great year. It's a great year. You know what I mean? So if you say right now, yeah, I guess Odell will put up his 100 catches and his 10 touchdowns and his 1,400 yards, and then what do you do with them? Well, you know what the heck you do with them? You're trying to keep them as long as possible because these are Hall of Fame numbers. So, let's not – now I'm going to ask you what's the Giants' record and how far in the playoffs they get. Because that's going to be very important. Once Odell crosses that threshold and plays in a couple of playoff games and plays well. Let's look at the guy who Roger was just talking about, Victor Cruz. Victor Cruz put up really great numbers for 3 years. What's the key? He won a Super Bowl, right? He won a Super Bowl, and now he is untouchable pretty much. So, Odell hasn't got a sniff of that. We can't forget, the guy is an all-world outrageous player, and I think he can be better. I think he can be even better with a little more focus, a little more calmness, a little more attention to detail. I mean, Brandon Marshall was talking about it yesterday, that in a league full of, crazy good athletes, Beckham is a freak up there. His hand-eye coordination is off the charts. So, the Giants are not thinking, man, we got to, have another year or two with Odell, and we're going to get rid of him. I mean, this guy is an incredible talent, and with that talent, I wouldn't say he's just scratched the surface with his numbers because he hasn't. The numbers are outrageous, but I think they can be even better. And so, the goal is to have him here, and they know what that entails. But as you said, they have the 5th-year option for $8 million next year. Then they could do a franchise tag, which you don't want to do, but you can. So. You don't have to make that decision until you have to make it, and that's a good thing for the Giants.
Well, I know this. He will be there, June 13th when it's mandatory. That I can tell you. And he also did tell, Kim Jones yesterday or a couple of days ago that he still, loves the team and loves the Giants or what. Gave a quote to let everybody know that he'll be there when he has to be there June 13th. But whether he shows up between now and then, and he hasn't yet, is a whole other matter. And it does sound like Ben McAdoo I don't want to say upset, but a little disappointed maybe that his star player is not there.
Oh, I think more than that, Roger. I think he's very disappointed. This is your franchise player. This is the guy you everything is built around. I mean, it's Eli Manning, of course, but it's Odell. He's their best player, and so Odell talked after the season. Wants to be more of a leader. Jerry Reese says it's time for him to grow up, and I think fans are torn by this. A lot of fans, I get all my emails and Twitter responses, and a lot of them say it's BS. Stop writing about this. Nobody cares. And, then you get some people who say, well, if the other players are there, why isn't he there? He should be there. I mean, these are voluntary in name only. Like I said, he doesn't have to be at every one of them. He should be there. He should, and he's been in the off-season program. It's not like he hasn't been around since the end of last season. He's been around from time to time. But the OTAs are practice on the field. You get to run. I don't think guys should burn themselves out in these OTAs. And so, sure, Maxton, first of all, he doesn't like being asked questions about this. This happens all the time. There are, 85 players there, and, we harp on the 3 or 4 who aren't there. That's just the way it is, especially when they're marquee players. If it was the second team running back, no one's going to, where is he? No one cares. Or, they'll say, okay, he's excused, no problem. So no, I think it's a distraction. I don't think it's good. And I think what happens is it's just like that boat ride in Miami. What it does is it opens him up to criticism if things don't go well. In training camp now participating in an OTA yesterday and getting to, September 10th in Dallas is a long way from there. It's a long way, but, he should be there, and the Giants are disappointed he's not there. There's no question about it.
Olivier Bernie, only other guy I think that is not there, and I'm not sure why.
And he's a big player, right? He's a big player and a big team guy who made a ton of money. So you can say, why the heck isn't he there? Isn't he there now? As Snacks Harrison pointed out yesterday, it would be good for Olivier to be working with these. He's going to be playing alongside a new defensive tackle, right? And so it'd be good to kind of get in the feel. For who he's working with and everything. But, I'm sure he's in Florida. He loves being in Florida. I'm sure, and he's not here. And the Giants would rather he be in New Jersey also. But everything with Odell is a bigger deal. And, then he posts, his trainer posts pictures of him working with Chris Carter and things like that. Look, he's working. But, for a few weeks, most of that work should be here with his teammates.
Hey, one more, I'll let you go. Loaded question. Is this team, the Giants, as you see them now, and you know what they've done in the draft, we haven't seen the draft guys in there yet. We will a lot when we get to the full-blown training camp. Could the Giants be sitting on a Super Bowl season?
Yeah, it's way a loaded question, too early. I think you have to look at what they did last year and what you can move forward. Is the arrow up or down? The arrow should be up. I think the schedule is harder. I definitely think the schedule is difficult. They have 4 West Coast trips. I think the division is hard, Roger. Is there a bad team in their division?
Philadelphia, maybe? I don't know.
You think they're bad? I mean, you know what I mean? Bad? Like,
not bad. No. I would know. To answer your question, no, there's no bad teams. No.
I'm saying in Philadelphia, you're going to be 7-9 or 8-8 at the least next year, probably.
Yeah.
Right? This season, probably. So I'm saying there's no Browns, there's no Rams, there's no team that you could say, we got them at home, we're going to win this game. There's no 5-11 team. So the schedule's tough. Now, having said that, they won 11 games last year. The defense comes back almost intact. The defense could be better, should be as good at least. Offense should be better with, let's face it, Brandon Marshall for Victor Cruz is a plus for the Giants' offense. If their offensive linemen get better. So, this is a team that should certainly be in the playoff hunt and be in the playoffs again. And then once you're in the playoffs, if your arrow's pointing up there, you could be a team that can contend. So, yes, the arrow is up for this team. And that's why, they don't need things like Odell not being around. They need everybody in and everybody moving and, a little more serious here.
Hey, Paul, I don't know if you'll be disappointed or impressed, but we had Roger talking about The Bachelorette earlier in the week. As a UA guy, I have to ask you, man, did you see Mike Black on The Bachelorette?
Well, talk about loaded questions. I did. I was watching. I think the Brownie, he could have come across a little better than the Brownie. I thought, Will Brown could have, coached him a little better on that, I think, I didn't think he had a chance once I saw all the whack jobs that were filing in and out of there. So yes, look, I have experience with this, guys. I was covering the Giants when Jesse Palmer was the Bachelor.
Right.
As a player. I mean, he was not, Mike Black is a former player. Jesse Palmer was the darn backup quarterback for the Giants, and he was the Bachelor, and I remember being in the locker room and talking about, who was he going to give the rose to and this and that, and he was sworn to silence. So, yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. I remember him as a player later in his career when he was quite good, right?
Mike Black, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good one. Yeah.
Yeah, he hit the buzzer-beating layup at Washington to give UA their first win over a BCS school. Right?
Yeah, no, he was on championship teams, NCAA tournament teams with Will Brown.
Did he have a big basket to beat Vermont in the championship game?
He absolutely did.
That's right.
He absolutely did. That was the Albany can't win at Vermont again, and they went and won the championship right at Patrick Gymnasium, and Mike Black had a huge shot.
He should have brought that video. That's what he should have shown.
He wanted a real impressed, right?
He should have put that video and said, "I deserve a rose, and here's why. I'm a winner," and shown that video. Okay, I gotta be a consultant for these Bachelor candidates. That's all there is to it.
I love it.
Well, great stuff. Always a pleasure having you on, and I'm sure we'll do it again, and hopefully sooner than later. And if not, I'll certainly see you at training camp this summer.
Sounds good, guys.